Hello, sports fans. We are with Bloodline Sports. My name is TJ Wilcoxon, co-founder. I'm here with Nick Shiaka in Southern California, as well as Alex Vicario in Southern California. And this is outside the box segment. We're just going to talk about current events going on with baseball at the time. And we're going to start with replay in the Major League Baseball game, which is obviously very controversial. And Alex is going to start, and we're going to go from there.
All right. So I feel like I've talked about this a lot. My take is I hated it. And then I thought, all right, well, if they get it right, let's do it, speed it up. And then when 50% of the reviews came back wrong, I was like, let's get rid of it. Before we started this deal here, I was watching the Cardinals Mets game. And it seems like every time you watch a game, there's a blown review call. Exactly. Well, they miss calls all the time, but how do you miss a review call 50% of the time? So Jordan Hicks threw a pitch up and in to Alonso. He backed up, hit his hand. They gave him first base. Cardinals reviewed it. They zoomed in. It clearly hit the knob of the bat, and they showed it like 5 times. Even the Mets announcers, Cohen and Darling, are like, oh, I got to get my white out, got to fix my score sheet. Clearly hit the bat. Let's bring him back. And they came back and said, nope, call in the field stands, give him first base. And they showed it 8 more times and said, we don't understand they're like, even Showalter was watching it, getting ready to make his move of what happens when they bring him back. And they said, no, they gave him first base. So that's the thing. If you're going to slow the game down and do replay, just get it right. And why can we see it? And again, we see it on the first take, the first replay, yet it takes them 8 more minutes and then it comes back wrong. So that's my beef. That's how I feel. If you're not going to do it right, get rid of it.
Well, my beef is that the human element of baseball and also that there's no time clock are the 2 greatest beauties of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd rather talk about with you guys the next day, did you see that blown call, other than sit there and watch a replay and they still don't get it right. And it takes 10, 12 minutes off the game. And, everything they're ever trying to do right now with the game and what they're, in my mind, they're trying to ruin the game of baseball is to speed the game up. And if you think about, 2-3 years ago, and I think it was the Astros, could have been the Astros-Dodgers World Series game where it was like 5 hours long. It was like 14-13 or something.
I think so.
And they came out and said, oh, this is the greatest baseball game of all time. It was 5 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
And all you guys have ever been talking about is how can you slow the game or speed the game up. So it's not 5 hours long. So it's 3 hours long. So you sit there and go, oh, this is the greatest game of all time. And then the next day you're like I think they're going to start fining people for stepping outside the box, fining pitchers for not pitching within 20 seconds. It's just what they're doing. And then I agree with you. If they don't get the replay right, like we're sitting there watching it and we know baseball as good as anybody out there. And it's like, no, he's safe. And they still call him out. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of, it destroys the experience of the fan, the flow of the game.
Yeah.
I hate it. What do you think, Nick?
I think it's good and bad. Piggybacking off what you guys are saying, if it takes that long and 70% of the time they're getting the call wrong, it's not worth it. I can see doing it in playoffs, World Series, but through the whole season, I don't like the idea. It takes away from the human element. TJ, you mentioned that. It's just, I don't agree with it all the time. I understand why they're doing it. I mean, think back to the Cardinals, Royals World Series, the missed call at first base.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we talk about to this day.
Yeah.
That was, what was that, 40 years ago?
That cost us
40 years ago, we still talk about it as
a
baseball.
team and a city and an environment a World Series.
Right.
By one call.
Exactly, one call, but we still talk about it. And baseball is always about the human error, the human element, all the above. So, I mean, that's my take.
Yeah, and you look at some of the calls that weren't made, like the Jeffrey Mayer call,
Mm-hmm.
the Bartman call.
Hartman call.
Like, I mean, both of those incidences caused the other team to lose or influenced the other team to lose, which, again, I mean, the Cubs have gone through enough throughout the years. They finally won one. But I think the Mayer was the Orioles. Is that right?
It was the Orioles. Yep.
Yeah. And they haven't done anything since the 70s. So
That was
easily could have been called fan interaction and, called the guy out.
right.
And that could have greatly influenced the series. So, my biggest thing with the replay is that the umpires they don't feel the necessity to get it right because they don't have to, because they can always fall back. Their safety net is the review.
Right.
Instead of being engaged in the game, watching the game, making the call right, being emphatic about what my call is. Instead, they're like, I think he's out, or it's like, then we'll go earmuffs. Let's see what it says, and it's declining the umpire, I guess, skill set, so to speak, and yeah, I can't stand it.
It's also protection. I mean, I'm old school, so I enjoy watching a coach, manager go out there and argue a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that.
We don't even get that anymore.
We don't. Does that go overboard sometimes? Heck yes, it does. But it's also enjoyable to watch.
I mean, why is Earl Weaver one of the, most beloved coaches ever? It's not his record.
Yeah.
We'll never see an Earl Weaver. We'll never see a Billy Martin.
When your own players,
those managers again.
When your own players put money into a pot, your own players put money into a pot
right.
of which inning he's going to get tossed.
Yeah.
Come on.
Exactly. And those guys.
How do you beat that?
We'll never have a Lasorda. We'll never have a Martin. We'll never. Have
Lou Piniella.
Piniella.
Yeah.
They brought some excitement. They brought some energy to the game. But we'll never see.
So we'll move on to the universal DH.
Now, is that outside the universe or is that inside the universe?
Again, I'm on the fence on this. I've always liked how the American League and National League are a little bit different. I've always felt that in the World Series, the National League had the upper advantage because the pitchers could hit. So when you take a Randy Johnson from the Mariners and he's playing in the World Series, he's never touched a bat the entire year, and he's got to go up there and bunt, where you got Glavine and Maddox who bunt all the time and can handle the bat. So I always thought that the National League had the advantage. And then, not to mention, when the National League teams would go to an American League park, they got a DH. So I always felt like the National League always had the upper hand in the lineup. But now that they have the universal DH, where they're DHing in both leagues, there's a huge dynamic that's changed, evolved, where, for example, Bryce Harper I think he had an ACL or UCL, something go on. And I think he's hit like 6 home runs in the last 10 games, and he doesn't have to run. He doesn't have to play the field. Now, Alex had said earlier that but that means you got who's in the outfield now?
Schwarber and Castellanos.
Yeah, and Schwarber's a catcher by trade. Yeah, probably not the guy you want out there. Castellanos, I don't know. He's
Third baseman for the Tigers.
Right.
yeah, he's kind of hit for hire. He's another DH guy. So obviously, Harper's a Gold Glove caliber outfielder with the cannon, but at least, with what they're allowing now, it gives him a chance to be productive, and he has been productive. So, what do you guys think about the universal DH? Do you like it? Should we get rid of the DH? Should we just have the universal DH? Should we separate it from leagues like we did?
Was it broke?
No.
Why change it?
Yeah.
Why change it? That
Well, my argument, like I said, is that I think the National League had the upper hand when he got to the World Series.
which they did.
Yeah.
You still have, you still go from park to park.
Yeah.
Go to the American League Park, you still go to the National League Park.
Yeah, and if you have home
I agree
field,
with what you're saying.
yeah.
They definitely did that, but I just, that was the excitement about it.
And it takes away from, the whole managerial aspect of the double switch and, hitting for the pitcher this inning, see if he can get through one more inning. So I think that is a downside. On a positive is it might let somebody play a little longer. Okay. Miguel Cabrera could sign with a National League team. He could, DH somewhere. Pujols would never be with the Cardinals unless they just did him a complete favor. TJ, you and I have talked about Buster Posey. All years, he had a good year last year, and then now we have the universal DH and he retires. I thought that would have been if the catching was getting to be too much as he gets older, I thought that would have been a perfect transition for him. But so I think obviously the players like it. It opens up more jobs. But I kind of like the different styles and the different leagues. When we were younger, even the strike zone was different in the different leagues,
Yeah.
And I think that made it more interesting. But they're trying to make everything more universal.
Well, what happened was when they started the interleague play.
It started to
because the American League strike zone was here, and the National League strike zone was here, and so once they combined it, but yeah, going back to Posey, I'm 51 years old, and I can't think of a better right-handed swing that I've ever seen in my life. Molitor's right up there, but yeah, I think Posey had 3 or 4 more unbelievable years under his belt where he could hit 300 and 20 and 90 RBIs, and then obviously he's a family man, a big strong Christian guy that just probably said, yeah, enough's enough. I get it.
Not having him in the dugout or the clubhouse was a big blow.
Yeah, right.
Not just catching or.
Yeah. So moving on to Yelich had a hit for the cycle last week. He is one of 6 players to hit for the cycle 3 times in a career, which is unbelievable. It's more rare to hit for a cycle than throw for a no-hitter. And he's done it 3 times, and he did it all against the Reds, which is kind of a cool statistic.
Unless you're a Reds pitcher.
Right. Or a fan.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, the cycle is very it's rare territory, and it's very cool to see it. I was looking at it. I've got it on my screen here. They got natural cycles, so you hit single, double, triple, home run in order. They got reverse cycles where you hit home run, triple, double, single. Statistically, baseball is crazy. It's a joke, but it's kind of goofy, and as for us as baseball guys, we geek out on it and we love it. But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool that he did it again last week and did it 3 times, and he did it against the Reds all 3 times.
All right, I got a hot take here.
Hot take.
The cycle is overrated. I mean,
Really?
is it an amazing feat? Yes. But if I hit 3 home runs in a single, it's going to get less pub than a cycle. I mean, it's almost an anomaly to hit for a cycle because, you're putting those 4 hits together in one game. It's very cool. Don't get me wrong. But like I was saying earlier, if I need a single and I come up in my last at bat and I hit a home run, you're like, oh, you hit a home run. You could have had the cycle. It's like, I don't think the feat's overrated. I think the adoration of the cycle is a little bit overrated. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point, but have you ever hit for one?
19.
You hit for 19 cycles?
Yep. Twice in one game.
What year?
06.
I hit for one in 1988 against the Tempe Buffaloes with a 32-inch Black Magic bat because I decided to lift weights that week and I could barely move my arms. So I borrowed our second baseman's bat. Then he had a 32 and I hit for the cycle.
And then that's the last time you used it?
Only triple I ever hit in my life. Yeah. But no, I think I agree with you that yeah, I mean, 3 home runs in a single is a little bit more impressive than the cycle, but it's still, I mean, if it's rarer than a home or a no hitter, then I would say it's kind of rare territory and it should be acknowledged, right?
I agree, and I think it's a great feat, and I'm proud of everyone who's hit for the cycle.
Yeah. So closing out, moving forward, we're going to, obviously we're Bloodline Sports, and we want to talk about bloodlines. We want to talk about, father, sons, grandsons, grandchildren, nephews, the whole relationship of baseball to baseball. I'll start right here. CC Sabathia's son signed today with Georgia Tech. He's 6'4", 220, and he's a first baseman, right-handed hitter. Obviously got his body from his dad. Not as bulky as his dad, but.
Have you seen CC lately?
Yeah, he's lost weight. Yeah, he looks good.
Cleaned out.
He looks like The Rock.
Yeah. So, that's awesome to, continue that bloodline, and that's what we're all about. What we're going to do moving forward is talk about our favorite, father-son combos or bloodline combos, going into our next podcast. And it to me, it seems like it's a little bit more common with baseball. I think there's a little bit of golf involved in that, where the father sons, that played on the PGA Tour. Not, there's a little bit of NBA and NFL, but it just seems more prominent in baseball. And I think I really think it has to do with the culture. The baseball culture is such a different mindset. It's, football is just 100 miles an hour, and the practice stuff and like comparing a clubhouse, a baseball clubhouse to a football clubhouse is, completely different. It's baseball is a little bit laid back, a little bit more you're thinking a little bit more. When you work out, everything is kind of slow paced, and it allows these kids that, you think of Ken Griffey Jr. that grew up in that scene. And, by the time he got to 17, 18 years old, nothing fazed him because he was around it. It's like,
Fielder was the same way.
yeah, Barry Bonds, you're around it all day, every day, and nothing phases you. You're in the clubhouse and you're out taking BP and shagging balls, and it's just it's a laid back, very cool environment. And so, that we're going to tap into that next week and talk about our favorite father-son combos, and we'll have some other topics next week. So if you guys want to wrap up with anything, and then we'll get back next week. So what do you guys got?
I disagree with Alex about the cycle. That's all I have to say. We'll continue off camera.
Well, I didn't think you'd start agreeing with me now, so.
Well,
Anything else to add?
I think I'm good. Nick, you want to give our social media real quick?
follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube.
And it just, all it is Bloodline Sports.
Yeah, Instagram is Bloodline Sports AZ. Twitter is Bloodline Sports. TikTok is Bloodline Sports, and YouTube is Bloodline Sports Network.
Yeah, and check out the website, bloodlinesports.co. Check out some athletes. There's some other things on there, interesting content. But we appreciate you being with us, and we'll see you next time.
You got it.
Good one.
All right.